Recording. All righty. So, welcome everybody. This is the How I Monetize My Podcast in 5 different ways. And actually, as I was putting this whole thing together, because yes, I will have a slideshow, so you guys will be able to take, if you want, you can take screenshots. That's totally fine. I'm fine with that. But one of the things I realized was I actually was like, oh wait, there's another way that I monetize. So you guys are going to get a bonus sixth monetization that I actually have implemented in the last few months with my business, and it has been really, really helpful. It so far it has already saved me $800 in my business. So, yeah, it's pretty freaking amazing. So, I really want to be able to help you guys do this because for me, my own struggle with, people were telling me, you should have a podcast. You should have a podcast. You're really good at explaining what you do, and people want to listen to what you have to say and learn from you. And you have really juicy network. You can talk to all kinds of people. I was like, yeah, but I don't have time to run a freaking podcast. I don't have time to like learn the tech and blah, blah, blah. Ugh. Until my podcast coach told me, what if your podcast could feed your coaching business? And I went, I'm listening. Yes, tell me more. And then he shared with me one of the things that I'm going to tell you guys about today. And that's what made me go, all right, let's do this. Let's go. I'm all in. And so I brought him on. He helped me get my podcast launch actually 6 years ago, as of last week. So he helped me through this entire process. And I'm just really excited to be able to share this with you guys because the number of people I've helped launch podcasts since 2020 is massive. I've done helped launch over 200 podcasts. And the podcast hosts who do what I say make money. The ones who try and go it their own way and I don't feel comfortable doing that. Well, guess what? They don't make money and then they fade away into what we call pod fade, which is they don't continue doing episodes. And so their audience doesn't get the information that this person has to share. So I hate it when that happens. And I want you guys to not experience that. So here's what I'm going to share with you. And what do you say we
Jenna,
get started?
Jenna,
Yeah.
quick question.
Uh-huh.
So did you say you hired somebody that was a pod coach that actually taught you how to set it up and
Yep.
get things rolling? And
Yep. And then he hired me to train all of his clients because I was so good at it.
okay, and that's what he does for a living is just help people build podcasts to get them
Yep.
up and going. So that
Exactly.
might be somebody I might want to network with then.
Okay. We'll have a one-to-one about that for sure.
Okay, super.
Um,
Thank you.
Absolutely. Happy, happy, happy. All right. So I'm assuming you guys can see my screen now. So it should just be my intro screen here. All right. So, what I'm going to share with you today are, first of all, I'm going to bust the myths behind monetized podcasts because there are some things that a lot of people that when I meet them, whether they have a show already or not, they say a lot of the same consistent things. And so, I'm going to share with you what those things are that podcasters often believe. And then I'm going to actually turn around and share with you the actual facts about that. Then I'm going to show you the 5 ways that the 1% of monetized podcasts actually do it. So I'm going to show you what those ways are and why they work. And then, like I said, we're going to get a bonus additional monetization option. Plus, I will gift you guys the replay that will get you to be able to watch this as many times as you want. So, because to me, it's really important that over time you guys have the option because really you don't want to be trying to use all of the strategies for monetization at the same time. You really want to be focusing on one or two at the beginning and then moving into some of the others. So let's pop into the myths. And for any of these, if this is true for you, go ahead and type in the chat. Now, Kendall, since you're driving, please do not type in the chat. But if it's true for you, go ahead and verbalize like, yep, I thought that was the case too. Like that's okay. Because I want you guys to be safe. All right, myth number one. You need thousands of downloads to make money from podcasting. If that's you, go ahead and put a yes in the chat. Like,
Yes.
there we go. All right, you are not alone. I'm gonna Let me pull. Oh God, my mouse is being crazy. Let me get that out of your way because I'm sure that just blocked your thing. All right. Okay, so I will tell you that is a myth. You do not need thousands of downloads to make money from podcasting. Woohoo! You guys should be celebrating right now. This is good news. Myth number two, corporate sponsors are the only way to monetize. Chasing down big companies that want to get in front of lots of people because you have thousands of downloads are the only way to monetize.
Yes.
Okay, cool. You'll be happy to know that that was the fourth way that I monetized in that order. So there's three other ways that made me money before corporate sponsors. All right. So yay. And then myth number three, you have to wait until your show is established. In other words, you have to have a big audience before you can monetize because your listeners, it's a numbers game. I need to have lots of listeners in order to convert a listener into a client.
Yes.
All right. There you go. So the truth is you can monetize before your first episode drops. And I know this to be true because I did. I had money in the bank before any of my episodes was available for anybody to listen to. So that means I had an audience of exactly zero. So I know this is possible because I did it. And I have helped other podcasters do this. This is something that other people have made money with. So let me tell you my story. So this is how I made money before I hit publish. So first of all, like I mentioned, I hired a podcast coach. I hired someone who knew what they were doing, who had helped other people do it, and he walked me through that process. I made money two different ways before my first episode went live. I used two strategies to make money. And here was the agreement I had with my coach. I will do whatever you tell me to do in the exact way you tell me to do it because you know what you're doing. And he was like, "Oh my God, I wish every client was like you." And I was like, "I know, but I don't have time to mess around. I need to grow my business. And if you're telling me podcasting will grow my business, that's what I want to do." So, in my first 10 interviews, so this was before my first episode ever launched. In my first 10 episodes, four of those guests paid me money. So I converted 40% of my guests into some way of paying me money before my first episode even went live. And then over time, since then, so that was June of 2020 or 2019. Since then, I've added four more monetization strategies. And then one of them I will share with you is one that I wish I had done sooner because had I done it sooner, I would have made more money sooner. I would have had more clients sooner. So I will share with you which one that is when I get into it. So, and then of course, how podcasting actually did save my business last year. Podcasting is the only reason that I am still in business today because it was the only thing that brought in money, brought in clients for me last year. What? I know. But it was also thanks to BNI as well. BNI members sent me guests who became clients. So it saved my business last year. All right. So why you're not making money yet? Well, if you don't have a podcast yet, well, of course, duh. You don't have a plan. You don't know how to make money with a podcast, and that's totally fine. That's why you're here. You may also, if you already do have a show, you may have been waiting for sponsors instead of actually creating the income now. And up until now, you may not have been positioning your podcast as a business asset. Now, I do have some people who registered for this who are actual podcasters who've already started their show. They've launched their show. It's been going for a while. They just aren't making money at it yet. And they couldn't be here live today, but they are watching this on the replay. So, guys, this one's for you. And then, of course, they're not leveraging their existing network or their guests in order to turn people into money, right? There's a way to do that in a way that helps them, helps you, and it's a win-win for everybody involved. All right. So, you guys ready for the strategies? All right. I'm getting some thumbs up. That's awesome. All right. So, here we go. So, what I've done is I am listing these in the order that I implemented them. This is how they worked for me. Now, does that mean that that's the order that it's going to work for everybody else? Not necessarily. No. But here's the order that I implemented my monetization strategies, and I will tell you a little bit about what they are and why they work. Okay, so the first one is what I call a spotlight. All right, I call it a spotlight. Other people call it a sponsorship, like a guest sponsorship of their episode. The reason I changed the verbiage is because my guests, when my guests pay, they are not paying to make turn their show into an advertisement. Their show is an interview. That's it. It's an interview. It is not an advertisement for them or their show. It is not an endorsement by me of them or their product. It is literally just an interview seeing what kind of golden nuggets of wisdom can I get from them that me or my audience needs to move forward in life or business. That's it. So, what the spotlight does is the benefit to the guest is if they want to get in front of my network, if they want to get in front of my email list, if they want to get in front of all of my followers on social media, they're going to pay for extra exposure. Now, of course, I'm going to promote when I have an episode come out. Of course, I will. It's just how often am I going to promote? Now, keep in mind, I've now been doing this for 6 years. I have 340 episodes. Okay. So if someone does a free episode where they do not pay for the spotlight, their episode goes to the end of the line of all the other free episodes. But anybody who invests in a spotlight goes into what I call the Disney Fast Pass line of promotion. So anytime I have an open spot in my promotional calendar on any of my social media platforms, I go to the list of paid promotional episodes that I have, and I will promote their episode before a free one. So they get promoted more often, and I tag them, and so they get seen by their network and mine. As be like, hey, this is one of our classic episodes. If you guys missed it, here's what you should know about the episode, and why you should go listen to it now. So they're getting additional bonus content that they didn't have to create. I created it. I'm putting it out there multiple times for them on their behalf and in front of mine. Now, when I started my podcast, I had 2,000 followers on social media total. That's including LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok didn't even, well, it existed, but I didn't have a TikTok account back then. So I had 2,000 total followers and people paid for a spotlight. Now, did I charge back then what I charge now? No, because back then I was not the world's number one network marketing podcast. I am now. I also have 18,000 more followers on social media, and my email list has grown by like 1,000%. So, yeah, they pay a little more now than they did 6 years ago. But the point is, I had money in the bank, right? So that's the spotlight option. I already hinted at one of the things, which is guest a client. If you go back and look at my first 10 episodes that weren't just me talking, my first 10 episodes were with people who could potentially be my client. I talked to people who, because pre podcast, I would reach out to somebody and I'd be like, oh my gosh, Kate, you are just absolutely killing it in your business. That is so amazing. Can I offer you a complimentary coaching session in order to see if I can like help you like knock it out of the park, like get some increases in your sales in the next 90 days? And it was like crickets. I would get like two out of maybe 10 people would respond and be like, yeah, sure, I'll take some free coaching. No, right? But when I switched it to, oh my God, Kate, you're killing it in your business. Can I feature you on my podcast? I would love to chat with you about what you're doing that's working for you and see if it'll work for my audience too. And you know what happened? I 4x the number of people who are responding. I now regularly have 8 out of 10 people who respond back and go, oh my gosh, you want me on your show? Really? Oh my gosh, that'd be great. Yes, I want to be on your show. So now I'm talking to 8 out of 10 people who are potentially my ideal client. Y'all should be hearing angels singing in the background right now. This is how you get your client to talk to you because like if you guys have a camera and turn on your camera right now because I want to see raised hands on this one. How many of you know if you can get in front of your ideal client and talk to them and find out what their problems are and find out if your solution is the right one, raise your hand if you know that they convert, right? Getting on a podcast and getting them to talk to you and finding out what their pain points are, they're talking to you. What are the chances you're going to convert them? Pretty darn high, right? So this is the most lucrative way that I monetized because now I had people who before would not even consider talking to me because they were telling them stories in their head like, "Oh, I can't afford a coach. Oh, I can't afford what you do." Right? They didn't even know what I did. They didn't even know what I could offer. They wouldn't even talk to me. They had their like wall up of, oh God, don't sell me your stuff. Right. And now all of a sudden, oh, no, everything's fine. It's great. Let's talk. Right. And I will tell you something the microphone is truth serum. You ask them a question, they will answer it. I get people all the time. I get 7 figures. So people who are making $1 million a year in their business who will tell me what their biggest challenge is right now because they have a microphone in front of their face. Ah. Okay? That's my version of angel singing, all right? It's amazing. So out of those 4 of my first the 10 interviews, 2 of them became clients, 2 of them paid for 2 others paid for spotlights, okay? The 2 who became clients, I went back and calculated how much money I made. I made $10,000 in 2 years between those 2 people alone that paid for my podcast production for over 2 years. Worth it. Every single dime. Worth it. Okay. The third thing is the thing that I wish I had done earlier. I waited almost 2 years to start selling my own services and products because I had it in my head that I had to provide so much value that they wouldn't care that I was maybe selling myself. What I didn't realize was as soon as I started putting stuff out there, I had people who were like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Because the way I do it is I don't necessarily sell my own stuff. I get them onto my list. I provide them a value. And then over time, I'm able to then reach out to them and be like, hey, what did you think of that thing that I just gave you? In addition to all of the podcast episodes you've been listening to. And then I get to have a conversation and sell my own products or services. But then there's also a way that you can use a very specific process that I know how to do. And I've done it multiple times. And I'm actually in the process of doing it right now with my show. So if you guys want, you can go listen to the last 2 episodes of my show and see what I'm doing and see if you can figure out what it is that I'm doing to sell my own products and services. Because the 2 most recent episodes are an example of what I'm doing, of what I'm talking about right now. They're just me talking. And you can pay attention to what I'm doing with that in order to sell my own products and services. Then I started getting, then I started getting paid advertisements. And here's what was so freaking cool. The companies reached out to me because this was about 3 years in, they saw that I was consistently putting out content. I had a marketing company reach out to me and say, hey, we've got a client who would like to advertise on your show. And I was like, sweet. Who is it? And they paid me money. and all they wanted was a 60-second ad. Like they didn't even want to have an interview. And like, I didn't even have to do that. I just made money for playing with their product. It was a technology vendor. They sent me a free account for their stuff. I tried it out, played with it, thought it was cool, and said, okay, you guys can advertise on my show. And I got paid. And that was pretty freaking cool. And I still have companies that reach out to me and go, hey, can we advertise? Because we want to advertise to network marketing leaders and you have leaders in your audience. Yes, yes, I do. And then the fifth way that I monetize, and I've been using this for quite a while now, is affiliates. So I will actually invite on either people who offer a service that is similar to mine, but not the same, but close enough. Like, so I've had people like literally ask me, like, why are you having so and so on your show? They do the same thing you do. And I'm like, well, technically they don't. But yeah, I can see why you think they do because they also serve network marketers, but they have an affiliate program. So if someone from my audience buys their stuff, and they do, I have money that shows up in my PayPal. So the guest is happy because they got a client. The client is happy because they're getting what they need from someone who offers something that I don't offer. And I'm happy because I connected two people who needed each other and I got a nice little thank you in my PayPal account. I wake up in the morning and there's just money sitting in my pay. Like I got a notification because someone was listening to the podcast at 3 o'clock in the morning, bought a thing, and I got some money. It was freaking cool. So those are the 5 ways that I very consistently monetize with. And I'm going to share with you a bonus sixth way in just a moment. But before that, I do want to share with you something. I am launching a monetized podcast group course where it is perfect for new podcasters and seasoned podcasters who aren't monetized yet. So this can be for anybody who's new, whether you've launched or not, because I know the tech that you need. I know how to launch podcasts. I have literally launched over 200 podcasts since 2020. As Kendall asked me earlier, so wait, you hired a guy? Yes, I hired a guy and then he hired me. And I have helped him launch over 200 podcasts since then. And here's my guarantee to you for this podcast group course. You will make your investment back through podcast monetization strategies that I just talked about. And you'll make that money back in 90 days or less, or I will work with you until you do. At no additional charge, no additional money. I will keep coaching you until you make back your investment. So here's what you get. There will be 6 live trainings on how to leverage these strategies. So remember, I told you, I can't tell you the how to do it in 30 minutes. It takes me 6 weeks to teach 5 ways. In addition to teaching the ways, we will have live Q&A and implementation calls where if you need help implementing the technology, you're like, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to make a Google form. I don't know how to set up Stripe. I don't know how to set up blah, blah, blah. I will help you. I will help you in those live implementation calls. So you don't have to do any of this by yourself if you don't want to. You'll also get a digital workbook that will walk you through step by step many of these strategies. And then you'll have access to all the recordings of these calls, both the live trainings and the Q&A implementation calls for 3 years. That will give you enough time to implement every one of those strategies as your podcast grows, as you need more strategies to implement to bring in more streams of income using your podcast. So, I know that a course exactly like this from other podcast hosts is $997. I know this. And you don't get live interaction with that host. I'm doing it for 400 right now because I need testimonials and referrals. Because I'm not promoting this because it would confuse my market. You guys know me as as a network marketing coach, not as a podcast launcher or a podcast monetization coach, right? But I'd like to be able to have testimonials and referrals so when I launch a full priced version of this at 997 in the future, I will have testimonials and referrals from people who made the money back within 90 days or less. So if you're interested, you can scan that QR code or I will put the direct link in the chat here for you guys if you want to take a further look at what's available. And I'm going to offer a fast action bonus. If you sign on for this before the end of the 4th of July weekend, so before Sunday, I will also do a custom coaching session, private one on one coaching session with you to make sure that your offer and your pricing for whatever strategy or strategies is going to make sure that makes you money. So if you choose to do this before Sunday night, you get in. Anybody who's in by Sunday night is going to get a free hour with me to be able to go over and make sure that you've got an offer and a pricing that will make you money. That's how I can guarantee that you're going to make your money back because I'm going to make sure that you've got something worth selling. Okay. So here's the QR code again, just in case. And then the link is in the chat. And then I will also send an email after this so that you guys have the replay to be able to rewatch the replay. And you'll also have the link to be able to make your decision. You don't have to decide today, but you do need to decide by Sunday because we are launching the first live training on July 15th. All right. Before we get that last strategy, are there any questions about the group course?
I just have a
Yeah.
question,
Oh,
Jenny.
Kate, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Nope,
Yeah.
that's okay.
You're gonna send me this recorded. Can I send it to a friend of mine who I think might be interested?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. And that would count as a referral. Kendall, you have a question?
Yeah, if I decide to sign up and do it, can I possibly just hand you the cash for it on Monday when I see you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. If you want to do cash, we can do that too. I will not say no to cash. Cash is good. And Abigail, yes, if you know another podcaster or aspiring podcaster, because yes, even if you don't have a podcast yet, you will have a podcast by the end of the 6 weeks because we'll take you through the process. Okay. All right. So here's the last strategy with a review of the first five. So I made money through spotlights, guest to client strategy, talking to my ideal client to get them into the possibility of working with me, sell your own services or products, paid advertisements from corporate. Yes, it is possible to get those without having to chase anybody down and without having, like, when I started getting paid advertisements, by the way, I forgot to tell you guys this. I did not have thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of downloads per episode. I still had an average about 100 downloads per episode at the time that I sold my first advertisement. 100 downloads per episode. Think about that. How many of you would like to talk to 100 potential clients? That's yeah, right? Like if you could get 100 of your ideal clients listening to you, that's huge, right? Well, when I had that conversation with the company, because at first they were looking for bigger, and I'm like, yeah, you can go for bigger, but who's your ideal client? And as soon as they described it, I said, that's who's in my audience. Here, let me show you my Spotify numbers. And they were like, oh, yeah. Right? So it was a much easier sale. But the last way that I've monetized is actually free stuff. People send me free stuff all the time. I told you earlier that one of the monetization strategies has saved me $800 so far. That's because I have a digital marketing company that is now a sponsor for the podcast, and he is providing me in kind. So I give him sponsorship. He gives me a free Go High Level account. I pay nothing for my Go High Level. That like the cheapest you can find Go High Level is $97 a month. So had it for 8 months now, and I pay nothing for it. And I've got all the bells and whistles, right? I get free books, I get free product. People send me free, like I've been getting free collagen for the past 6 months. It's stuff I would have probably purchased anyway, but people send it to me. So it's pretty cool. I've gotten free vitamins, free supplements, free meal replacement shakes. Like people send me free stuff all the time. It's awesome. It's awesome. So if you think about it, money that you don't spend is money that you save. That is money that you make. So those are 6 ways to monetize. Now there are other ways to monetize. Those are good enough for me, right? I have other friends who teach other ways to monetize, but these are the 6 ways that I know. So before we go, because I promised you guys 30 minutes of content, this is 30 minutes of content. What questions do you have? You got me.
Okay. Is
Yes.
there, before we start, because you're going to be my coach now,
Mhm.
finally, it's only been like 5 years in the making. Jenny's been chasing me for years. But before we start this coaching process, is there anything that would be helpful for me to have before we get started?
Um, in your digital workbook, I will have a list of any technology that you might need. You won't have to have it before we get started, but you'll need it before you start recording podcasts, right? And I promise you the technology is super simple. It's
That's what's
literal.
holding me up. I'm so like technology averse and anxious.
Oh, trust me. Do you have a Zoom account?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it a paid Zoom account?
I get it free through Slew because I'm an employee.
Okay. But are you able to record with it?
I would have to check.
Okay. I would double check and find out.
Okay.
But if not, you'll need a Zoom account or some way to record. And I will give some other options if Zoom is not your favorite. There are other podcast specific ones, but I'm not as familiar with them. But literally every one of my episodes, all 340 of them so far, have been recorded on Zoom, including the ones that are just me by myself. I open Zoom, I hit record, I do my thing, I stop, I leave the room, it converts, I put it out for the world to see. You don't need much, and then a microphone. Like you don't need a mixing board, you don't need a soundboard, you don't need any of that unless you really want to get into like super whatever. But Zoom does amazing. I mean, you can hear the sound through this mic. It's amazing sound,
Hello.
right?
We
It's
are
fantabulous.
passing the old factory.
All right, Kendall, you got a question?
Yeah, I will do it. Want to talk to you either now or after show about what it would cost to have me on your show. Okay.
Ah!
Okay.
Well, if you would like to be a spotlighted episode, you'll see that in the link.
Okay.
So, because I make it super easy for that.
Okay.
So, yeah. So that's what I have.
I've been trying to put together a small package already since we talked at one time about different things that would be specific to podcasters. Where I could even have like different packages, like here's a beginner stage, all the way up to if you how much you want to spend based on different microphones, different treatments, and different things you can do in your room. So
Oh yeah. That would be awesome. I would love to be able to do that and then we can talk about that. So, cool. Yeah, let's set up a one-to-one.
that's great.
Awesome sauce. All right, last call for questions. I don't see any in the chat. So, I don't see anybody unmuting, so I'm going to assume that we are all good. So, guys, was this helpful to know these different strategies? Yes, I'm getting double thumbs up. Some thank yous in the chat. Absolutely. Love that. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys for being here. And yes, when you get the replay, you are welcome to share the replay with someone you know who's in podcasting or thinking about podcasting. And really, this is a great opportunity for people who are doing business related podcasts, right? If someone's doing a passion podcast, I don't know that I can make the same guarantee. But everybody here is in business, so I know I can help you guys with that. So, all right, guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. For those of you who made it live, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for being here because I love talking to people. I love the energy that I get back. And for those of you who are watching on the replay, if you have any questions, reach out to me. You'll have my email. You'll have my contact information that goes along with it. So